in approximately 1,600 words. Asibi's Magical Journey to the Wise One. Hello there, friends. My name is Asibi, and I'm so excited to tell you about the most amazing adventure I had with my friends. It all started on a beautiful sunny morning in our little village of Itagun. The air was filled with the sweet smell of flowers, and the birds were singing their cheerful songs. Now, you might remember that I once had an incredible encounter with a mermaid. It was a magical experience that changed my life and my dear mother's too. But today, I want to share a different kind of magic with you, the magic of wisdom and friendship. In our village, we have a very special tradition. Every so often, a group of children gets to visit the Wise One who lives in the neighboring village of Ika. The Wise One is an elder who knows all sorts of wonderful stories and shares important life lessons with us. It's like having a living, breathing storybook right in front of you. When I found out it was our turn to visit the Wise One, I could hardly contain my excitement. I jumped up and down, clapping my hands. "Mama, Mama," I called out. "It's finally our turn to see the Wise One." My mother smiled warmly and said, "That's wonderful, Asibi. It's a very important day for you and your friends. Let's get you ready for this special journey." She helped me put on my favorite yellow dress with pretty sunflowers all over it. It made me feel like a little ray of sunshine. As I twirled around in my dress, I couldn't help but think about all the amazing things we would learn. Soon, it was time to meet my friends at the king's palace. I skipped along the dusty path, my heart full of joy. When I arrived, I saw my best friend Awa wearing a beautiful lavender dress. The twins, Zara and Zuri, were there too, dressed in matching red dresses with cute bows on their heads. "Asibi, you're here," Awa called out, waving excitedly. I ran over to hug my friends. "I can't believe it's finally happening," I said, bouncing on my toes. More children arrived, Jade, Abu, Ben, and Ruthie. We were all dressed in our best clothes, ready for our big adventure. An elder from our village, Uncle Kofi, was there to guide us on our journey. "Are you all ready, children?" Uncle Kofi asked with a kind smile. "Yes," we all shouted together, our voices full of excitement. And so, our journey began. The path to Ika was about 2.5 miles long, winding through lush green forests and open fields. As we walked, we sang our favorite song, "On our way to learn, on our way to gain, more words of wisdom to take, more understanding to sink." And then we'd all chime in together, "Happy, happy, 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 we are." Our voices echoed through the trees, and even the birds seemed to join in our song. The journey felt magical, like we were walking through a dream. As we got closer to Ika, butterflies started dancing in my tummy. What would the Wise One be like? What stories would we hear? Finally, we arrived at a clearing in the village of Ika. There, sitting on a beautifully carved wooden chair, was the Wise One. He looked very old, with wrinkles that told stories of their own, and a long gray beard that almost touched the ground. He wore a dark brown robe that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight, and on his head was a tall black hat. We all knelt down to show our respect, just as we had been taught. The Wise One's eyes twinkled as he looked at each of us. "Welcome, children of Itagun," he said in a voice that was both gentle and powerful. "I've been waiting for you. Please, sit down and make yourselves comfortable." We sat in a circle around him, our eyes wide with wonder. The Wise One clapped his hands, and a young boy named Sali appeared with a tray of treats, roasted yam, roasted corn, and cool water. Our tummies rumbled at the sight of the delicious food. After we had eaten and quenched our thirst, the Wise One leaned forward in his chair. "Today," he said, his voice becoming serious, "we're going to talk about something very important. We're going to learn about greed and its consequences." "What are we learning today?" he asked us. "Greed," we all shouted together. The Wise One nodded approvingly. "Very good. Now let me tell you a story from long, long ago in the magical kingdom of animals." We all leaned in closer, eager to hear every word. "In this kingdom," the Wise One began, "there lived 2 very good friends, a dog and a tortoise. They were the best of buddies, always helping each other and having fun together. They trusted each other completely and respected their friendship more than anything else in the world. Every 8 days, they would have a special celebration with their families to show how much they cared for each other. It was a beautiful friendship that everyone in the kingdom admired. "Wow," whispered Awa. "I wish I had a friend like that." the Wise One continued. Years went by, and their friendship remained as strong as ever. But one day, the king of the animal kingdom made a very serious announcement. He paused for effect, and we all held our breath. The king said, "My dear subjects, I have terrible news. Our seer has warned us that a great famine is coming to our land. If we don't prepare, we might lose many animals. We must all work hard and save food for the difficult times ahead." Now, the dog and the tortoise were known throughout the kingdom for their wonderful farm. They grew the most delicious fruits and vegetables anyone had ever tasted. They weren't too worried about the famine because they always had plenty of food. But the Wise One's voice dropped to a whisper. Greed can change even the best of friends. We all gasped, wondering what would happen next. One night, the tortoise's wife, Tussie, couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about all the food on their farm. She shook her husband awake and said, "My dear, I have an idea. Why don't we take all the food from the farm for ourselves? We could become the richest animals in the kingdom." The tortoise was shocked. "But what about our friend the dog?" he asked. "We can't betray him like that." But Tussie kept pushing and pushing. Finally, the tortoise agreed to her plan. They decided to sneak out at night and take all the food from the farm. "Oh no," cried out one of the twins. "That's so mean." The Wise One nodded sadly. "You're right, it was very mean. For 3 nights, the tortoise and his family snuck out to the farm and took as much food as they could carry. They hid it all in a secret place under their house." The dog noticed that food was disappearing from the farm. He asked his friend, the tortoise, if he had seen anything strange. The tortoise lied and said he hadn't. He even pretended to be angry about the missing food. On the 4th night, the tortoise and his family went to the farm again. But this time, the dog was ready. He had set traps all around the farm and hired guards to watch over it. We all leaned forward, our hearts racing with excitement. As they were leaving with their stolen food, the tortoise got caught in one of the traps. He cried out for help, but instead of his friend coming to save him, it was the guards who found him. They caught the whole tortoise family red-handed with all the stolen food. "What happened next?" Jade asked, her eyes wide with worry. The Wise One's voice became very serious. The tortoise and his family were taken to the king. As punishment for their greed and betrayal, they were sent to the dark forest, a place where no one ever wants to go. All the food they had stolen was given back to the dog, who shared it with his neighbors. We all sat in silence for a moment, thinking about the story. "But what about the dog?" Awa asked. "How did he feel when he found out his best friend had betrayed him?" The Wise One smiled sadly. The dog was heartbroken. He had trusted the tortoise completely, and it hurt him deeply to learn that his friend had been stealing from him. It taught him a very important lesson about trust and friendship. "Now, children," the Wise One said, looking at each of us in turn, "what do you think we can learn from this story?" We all thought hard about it. Then I raised my hand. "I think it teaches us that being greedy can hurt people we care about," I said. "Excellent, Asibi," the Wise One nodded. "What else?" "It shows us that stealing is wrong," said Abu, "and that we should always be honest with our friends," added Ruthie. The Wise One beamed at us. "You're all absolutely right. Greed can make us do terrible things, even to people we love. It's important to be happy with what we have and to always be honest and kind to our friends." We spent the next hour talking about the story, asking questions, and sharing our thoughts. The Wise One listened patiently to each of us, offering gentle guidance and wisdom. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in beautiful shades of orange and pink, we knew it was time to go home. We helped pack up the stools and said goodbye to the Wise One. "Thank you for the wonderful story," I said, giving him a big smile. The Wise One patted my head gently. "You're very welcome, Asibi. Remember, true wealth isn't about how much you have, but about the kindness in your heart and the strength of your friendships." As we walked back to Itagun, our hearts and minds were full of new ideas and important lessons. We sang our happy song again, but this time the words felt even more meaningful. That night, as I snuggled into bed, I thought about everything I had learned. I promised myself that I would always try to be a good friend, to be honest, and to be happy with what I have. And do you know what? That was just the beginning of our adventures with the Wise One. But those are stories for another day.